Janet Jackson. I'm like, okay. Janet Jackson had a baby at 50 years old. There's either two possibilities, right? She either did the egg freezing initially when the technology came out, or those are somebody's eggs, right?
Wait. Time out. She used somebody else's eggs potentially.
Well, we don't know. Yeah.
I'm just saying that's an option.
Okay.
There's an option to use somebody else's eggs to deliver a baby. Would that baby even look like you?
So, what they do is that they have like profiles. They have profiles that they go by. Yes, it won't be genetically her. Mm-hmm. It may be genetically her partner or her husband, that portion of it, right? But obviously, if it's not her egg, it's not her genetics. Right. Yeah, because people have a baby, or these Hollywood babies at age 50 plus, and I'm like, 9 times out of 10, it's not the eggs. You know, you may need donor eggs.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome
everybody.
Welcome to the Introspect Room.
The Introspect Room. We're back again. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in again. We have a fantastic show for you today.
Yes, we do. This is gonna be a good one. This is
gonna be a great one.
This is one where I'll definitely be introspective about. My name is Jeff Damisse.
Should be introspective about that for sure.
Yeah.
I am Michaelangelo Garland, everybody. Thank you again for being here.
In the Introspect Room, the room where you can learn a lot about yourself through conversations with other people. And boy, are we going to have a conversation today, because I'm going to learn a lot about myself and people that I don't know enough about, apparently women.
For sure. We're definitely blessed to have our guest with us today.
Yeah.
I think we're gonna learn a lot today.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like you're in a relationship, right? So
I am.
Do you ever feel like your woman is like still a mystery?
A mystery?
Yeah, a mystery.
I wouldn't say a mystery. A puzzle. Is maybe a better
semantics.
Hey, you might not ever figure out a mystery, right? But if you work on a puzzle, you keep working on it, you're going to figure that out, right?
Yeah, but once you figure it out, aren't there more things to figure out?
I mean, hopefully. It keeps it interesting, right?
Mystery.
Sure. I like what you did there. That works. You win that one. You win that round.
Because what do you do when you're done with the puzzle? What do you do?
Yeah, you share it.
You share it?
Yeah.
You share it? Oh, you know what? This is about to go left.
It's a whole other situation. Threw you a curveball there. I want to see what you're going to do with it.
You share it. Oh, man.
Yeah, no, we're happy to be here again with all of you today. And we want to let our guest introduce herself. She is an OBGYN, somebody who is not only just a doctor, but super into like health, wellness across the board. She's going to be able to, I think, drop a lot of information on us today that's going to expand us. Hopefully.
So I want everybody to kind of give a round of applause for Dr. Sharon Smith.
Dr. Sharon Smith, thank you for being here.
Thank you for being here. How you doing this evening?
Hi, I am well. How are you guys doing?
We're doing great.
We're doing very well. Thank you.
We're doing phenomenal. You want to give the audience a little bit of information about yourself so they know who you are?
Yes. So my name is Dr. Sharon Smith. I am a board certified obstetrician gynecologist. I practice in Houston, Texas area. I am in private practice. I'm also an entrepreneur, which means I basically own and run my own private practice. And I've been in private practice now for about 12 years.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
That's amazing.
That's great. 12 years.
Yeah.
Serious entrepreneur there. Love
some
it.
People are still studying for 12 years. You know, their medicine.
That's true.
Did you go to school for like a long time? Like how long were you in school?
So it is a long road. It really is.
For
so
sure. Yeah. That's a lot of years. You said like 1 to 3, 2 to 5. That's a lot of years.
You sound like a judge that's sentencing someone to jail. All your 20s are gone.
That is true.
That's crazy to me.
Okay, so the way I describe med school and the way I describe the rate of information is like drinking water out of a fire hose.
What? What?
Yes, sir.
That's crazy to think of it like that.
No, yeah. So that's how I think of the information. I mean, you have textbooks that are this thick, and like this is only one subject. So I do surgery. I operate on women. It's just in their, female space. I'm not a cardiac surgeon.
Only women?
Only women.
That's a little sexist.
I can't help you.
I don't know. I just felt neglected as a person. Myself, Jeff, as an individual.
Well, you have your own. You have your own. Like you have urologists who operate on men. Right. I mean, granted, urologists do operate on women too, but. Yeah, urologist.
Don't worry, Dr. Sharon. We're having our psychotherapist and psychologist on next. That's the next episode. Because these are personal issues.
Let's talk about it. I feel neglected as a person.
Yeah, actually, so outside of women's health, right? Like you said, you always knew that you were going to go into women's health. Are you fascinated or intrigued by any other of the particular specialties? Like if you couldn't be in women's health, what would you go into?
If I wasn't a women's health specialist, I probably would have been a trauma surgeon.
Wow.
Really?
Okay.
So you want a bigger fire hose?
The action, yeah.
To drink out of. In treating a lot of women, right? Mm-hmm. What are some of the most common health problems that are specific to women that occurs frequently or more frequently than usual? Like what are you seeing in that world? Because I'm a guy, I don't know what those things are.
So I mean, I see a variety of things, but especially in the African American community, I see a lot of fibroids, right? Fibroids are generally benign or non-cancerous growth in the uterus.
Okay.
They can be large and excessively large at times and may or may not require surgery, just depends. But I see a lot of that.
Is that happening because it's hereditary, or is that happening because of neglect?
Is it diet, or is it like what?
Well, I mean, the thought is that it's multifactorial, but there is a genetic component to fibroids, right? But it's multifactorial. And we don't know exactly why it happens, but it's thought to be multifactorial.
Okay.
So is there a way that you feel women aren't doing a good job taking care of themselves?
That's neglecting, right? Like, do you feel like most women are neglecting their health in a sense?
No, not really. Not really. I mean, a lot of my patients do come for their yearly exams. There are some patients who may skip, a years or things like that. And that's because they're busy taking care of their family. And that's usually the typical scenario.
Oh, so women who are, I guess, mothers, single moms, or moms with husbands, they're so busy taking care of the kids. Do you feel like those women are more neglectful of their health than those without that situation?
It's not. I really wouldn't call it neglectful.
Okay.
What I would call it is that sometimes they may skip a screening exam or two, right? Or they may, instead of coming yearly, they may end up coming 2-3 years. Right?
That's neglectful, no?
No, I don't think it's necessarily neglect.
I would call that neglect.
Yeah, like if I said,
well, maybe, you're the doctor.
Here's the deal. If I fed my kid, I don't have a child, but if I had a child and I fed my kid 3 times a day, every day, and then I got so busy that I only had time to feed him 1 time a day, what would they say about my parenting?
I mean, I would say you're neglecting your kid.
Yeah.
That's just me. Dr. Sharon, you are the guest. I want to hear what you would call that.
You know what I mean?
But that's something different. So yeah, that may be neglecting a child, right? But most people don't neglect their kid. They may allow themselves to go a little longer without like their screening exams because they're busy taking care of their family, right?
So not prioritizing is a better way to put it.
Not prioritizing themselves. Exactly. Right. Yeah.
We're getting into semantics here, Dr. Sharon. We didn't tell you that we're nitpicky over here.
See that. So, I mean, for me, what I do then to even help with that is that whenever I see a new, newly pregnant woman, I do a complete exam. I do an initial physical exam.
Okay.
And during the postpartum, when they come back after the baby, I do another complete, or semi-complete exam because I know they would have had one within the last year because it may be next 2-3 years before they come back. But even if it's 2-3 years, a lot of times, unless they need a mammogram, it's still within the guidelines for like a pap smear, unless they've had an abnormal pap smear.
I don't know what any of that stuff is.
Hold on. So I'm going to explain. So for me, my part in helping women get to that physical exam is to do it, at the time they come in for pregnancy, and I check them again at their last visit, 6-8 weeks after they've had a baby, and make sure I go through and say, hey, you're going to need this at this time, come back, you're going to have a pap smear doing it in a year. I'll see you back in a year. Right. Or, we had this issue, we need to do this, so that I try to keep them abreast of what they need. Yeah.
Would you say that that's one of the most important things that women should kind of prioritize in terms of their health in that regard, right? Because correct me if I'm wrong, because again, we are kind of, new to this space. But
we're guys.
We
have
foreign to it is a better way to put it.
Parts.
Foreign to it is probably see again with the semantics. Here we go.
All right, I have meat and potatoes.
And really just trying to stay focused here is that's important because, and I think I remember hearing this years ago. It's tied directly to like different kinds of cancers, right? Like cervical cancers in terms of prevention. Okay, awesome. Exactly.
So I definitely look at the preventative things that patient needs at that time, or like if it's the first time coming to see me, I'm like, have you had a pap smear in the last year? Was it normal? To get and dive into the history. And then from there, I focus on what I need to do to help this patient, help this particular person stay well or get well.
Huh.
Got it.
But okay, so you're saying that they weren't neglecting themselves in the act of waiting longer to get checkups. What are some things that women are failing at in terms of their own well-being? Because you look at because the last time we spoke, you and I had a conversation. You told me that you look at women's well-being holistically, not just in your practice, right? So what are some things that you feel women are being neglectful on when it comes to taking care of themselves, or they're not doing a good enough job collectively?
For me, what I really think is in terms of like eating habits and physical activity.
What do you mean?
Yeah. So, as part of even my preventive screening, like when a person comes to a well-woman exam, you should talk about like, what are you eating? Like, what do you eat? What's your daily regimen like? Do you exercise? Do you get any kind of activity? And I dive into that. It's actually really truly surprising, like how many people just they don't understand like what like really true foods are, or they don't make it a priority. So they end up eating a lot of fast food. And when I take a food survey, I'm like, what did you have for breakfast? Nothing. Okay, well, what did you have for lunch? McDonald's. Okay, what
that's
did
a
you
lot.
have?
You find that there's a large population of women that's the common answer, is like they're eating fast food regularly.
Wow.
Is this a Texas thing?
No,
I don't know if it's a Texas thing.
It's more than, we're here in the Bronx right now, my guy.
So what does that mean?
That's happening. Like what? Again,
I don't know. I don't know.
So, Dr. Sharon, no, you're right. And that actually begs a great question, right? For our audience, because I'm sure there are going to be a ton of people who are like Jeff. We don't know, right? Can you kind of educate us on what those foods are, like, and what are those health regimens specifically that you're talking about that they should be incorporating into their current lifestyle?
For me, the general recommendation that I give are if there are meat eaters, like lean meats, fruits, vegetables. You want to refrain from fast food, fried foods, sodas, and juices. And when I say that, I don't mean never, ever, ever, ever. I just mean it can't be a daily regimen what you eat.
Limit it.
You know what I mean? So yeah.
Does that apply to alcohol too?
I was just gonna ask that.
Does that apply to alcohol as well?
Yes, it does apply to alcohol because one martini you can get 400 calories in a martini. There you go.
So what happens if you mix soda and alcohol? Oh, you don't take care of men. I forgot.
We're diluting it a little bit with the ice.
All right, so we're just gonna go straight to
there's water in there. There's water in there.
Yeah, there's some ice. There's some minerals in that ice, maybe. Zephyr Hills.
Meanwhile, I have my pressed coconut water right here.
Okay, just brag a little bit.
On brand.
We're heathens when it comes to taking care of our bodies.
I love it.
I'm not against anyone partaking in alcohol as long as they do it responsibly, right?
Right. Are we responsible?
But alcohol.
We're not riding motorcycles after this. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Alcohol has a lot of calories, though. I can gain 4 or 5 pounds in a weekend from drinking.
That's very true.
And you can.
Damn.
A lot of people don't realize that.
You can gain 4 or 5 pounds?
Easily.
Yes, in a week, easily from drinking.
Then they can call me Slim Thick. You ever heard women say that? Slim Thick?
Yes, I have.
Like they heard that. Because I was having this discussion, in the African American community, there's this desire to be slim thick, if you will, where there's, even if a woman is in good shape, if they don't think they're thick,
amongst a certain subset,
of the
African American community.
I know, but
not broad.
I didn't say it's everybody.
Broadly, yeah.
I'm just saying I only hear it. I'm not saying it's everyone's saying it. I'm saying, but when I do,
right,
it's never someone from
I think it's expanded outside of just our community.
Okay, I'm only talking about my experience.
Yeah, exactly.
But your experience. But in your experience as a medical professional, do you feel there is a subset group of people who value being thicker?
Yes.
Right? And what is that group that you're seeing?
To me, it's just like the general millennium age type individuals who look at like Cardi B or Megan.
Shout to Cardi and Megan.
Yeah.
That's not.
Who they want to. They want that look, and right. And I'm not against that look at all. Right? That I don't see anything wrong with that, but you can always, eat a well-balanced meal and exercise, because you don't, to me, unless you do that, it's easy to get beyond that and enter into that, obese or very obese range. So, if you do nothing, but you just eat and have inactivity, then, most likely you're going to end up,
it's going to impact every part of your life. Yeah.
Yeah, it does. It does. It impacts diagnosis.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean?
Okay, so a lot of times people who are obese, you have a lot of late diagnosis. Remember, like a CAT scan only have a weight limit, right? If you're beyond certain weight, you can't. Even though regular scales have beyond certain weight, right? So it impacts everything about your health. And then when you're in that obese category, now you're at risk of diabetes, high blood pressure, every cancer known to man, late diagnosis. And then you know, it just becomes difficult. And I mean, and I understand people, we have family history. I mean, my family history is probably just the same as everybody else's family history. And I can't do anything about my family history. Mm-hmm. But what I can do is to positively affect my life by my lifestyle choices.
So what, right? So the lifestyle choices you feel women are being neglectful in, or at least are not doing a great job in, is they're eating trash. The ones that you come across. I'm the blunt guy. All right. They're eating trash.
I think part of it is that they just don't know.
Right.
They don't know. They're not informed. Right.
Got it. Okay.
And especially if you grew up eating fast food, that's what you know. That's what you're gonna feed your kids.
Yeah.
Right. So it's a lot of it is not that they want to, is sometimes it's just what they're exposed to.
Yeah.
And sometimes they don't know that like you can make better choices. Like, for example, like me, when I'm done with you guys, I'm gonna go meal prep.
Just keep bragging.
I'm gonna go meal
prep. We're gonna eat chicken wings. That we got jerk wings. We got jerk chicken wings.
Ready to go. And that's fine too. I mean,
we're gonna eat 10 of them also, each.
You know.
And rice. Yeah. We got some fruits though.
There's fruit.
Right?
I have fruit for breakfast.
And some calories of some sort in this clear container.
Basically, Dr. Sharon, next time you're in New York City, we're gonna give
you some wings
for the cookout that's happening.
Yes, every episode we eat good.
We do.
Yeah.
Sure.
But that's good. I mean, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? But for me, I don't eat fast food. I don't.
It's like, are you boycotting fast food?
No, I just don't eat it. I eat clean.
I don't eat fast food either. Chipotle though, I get down Chipotle.
Yeah, I rarely dive into fast food either. But the Popeyes spicy chicken sandwich.
No. I've actually never had it.
Don't do it.
I've never even had it.
It's a game changer.
Yeah.
Really, I've never even had it. I had
8 of them last week.
Okay, great. He's gonna come and see you next week, so you can get.
But that's the only fast food I eat. I don't eat fast food outside of that.
So you know what I'm thinking. You know what I'm thinking about. Like you mentioned earlier, you had a 12-year sentence in medical school. Okay. And you know, I don't know how it necessarily affected your. Are you in a relationship? Are you married? Do you have kids? Do you mind me asking?
No, and no.
Okay.
I'm single, but that's okay. I was in a relationship, but then COVID happened, and but that's okay.
Fair enough. Mm-hmm. But to the women that you see as patients who might be career driven, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever have conversations with them about fertility and what? Yeah, as far as like what they might not know about their opportunities and chances in having kids, especially those who feel like they can afford all these other medical options such as freezing eggs and so on and so forth. Do you talk to them about what their options are in that regards, or no?
Yes, I do. I usually basically approach and ask them, what are your thoughts, or what are your plans for having children?
Okay.
And some may know, some may not know. But if an individual is at least even around 30 years old and they're not sure, then I actually give them information about fertility preservation. Like, if fertility doesn't last forever,
right.
From about age 35, it precipitously decreases, right? So armed with that information, and even sometimes a referral to a fertility specialist, then they can consider their options, right? And if they're gonna freeze their eggs, I mean, the earlier you do it, the better. Okay. But I recommend doing it by no later than 35 years old. Now, it doesn't mean that people haven't done it beyond 35 years old. People have, but I'm not gonna see a 30-year-old and say, well, what are your plans on having kids? And they're like, oh well, I don't know, or I'm gonna wait, or I'm waiting for Mr. Right, and that's all fine and good. But I just want you to know what your options are, because a woman's fertility doesn't last forever. I said usually, for example, like Janet Jackson. I'm like, okay, Janet Jackson had a baby at 50 years old. There's either two possibilities, right? She either did the egg freezing initially when the technology came out, or those are somebody's eggs, right?
Wait. Time out. She used somebody else's eggs potentially.
Well, we don't know. Yeah.
I'm just saying that's an option.
Okay.
There's an option to use somebody else's eggs to deliver a baby. Would that baby even look like you?
So, what they do is that they have like profiles. They have profiles that they go by. Yes, it won't be genetically her. It may be genetically her partner or her husband, that portion of it, right? But obviously, if it's not her egg, it's not her genetics.
Right. Well, I mean, you say obviously.
Shout out to Janet Jackson, by the way.
Stop shouting out celebrities.
Their names come up. You never know who's gonna see.
Yeah.
Hey,
some people will see that. Yeah, because people will see people have a baby, or these Hollywood babies at age 50 plus, and I'm like, 9 times out of 10, it's not their eggs. You may need donor eggs. So right. Wow. So I just have to make sure that my patients are informed, educated, knowing that if fertility do decrease over time, and you have options, right? The options may be egg freezing, or if it's beyond that, you have options for, donor egg, donor sperm, and even adoption, right? So I really try to do my best to, educate and inform on that.
So the thing is, I've had so many conversations with different women who have I think a false idea of how much time they have, right? And they reference these celebrities, like you say, right? And they kind of pivot on wanting to focus on their careers so they can have kids later because they feel like they have all this time. Do you ever, like, as a medical professional, do you ever give them like the hard truth, or do you just steer them down the path of, okay, here are your options? Do you ever like coach them on like relationships, to like what they should be prioritizing if there's something that they want? Do you step into that realm?
That's not my ministry to tell people what to prioritize, right?
Girl, you better lock him down, girl.
No.
No.
You can prioritize your career if that's what you desire, and that's okay. But just know from a fertility perspective is that, if fertility don't last forever. It just does not. The way the biology works, the biology of the female biology, it doesn't last forever. You're born with all the eggs you're gonna have. In fact, the eggs are about 6 months older than you are. And from the time you're born, you lose them along the way.
Wait. Do you say the eggs are 6 months older?
Yeah, you're saying, think about it. They're growing inside of the fetus before the baby comes out. Just
my mind is blown.
Jeff skipped biology.
I'm sorry. That was the first thought that came to your mind?
Yeah, because
apparently I paid attention to the wrong things in school.
Advanced biology class.
Because apparently when I went to med school, I was not paying attention in that class. Hence why I'm not a doc. Okay.
You know what, Dr. Sharon? I'm more interested in some of the just the psychological things that you have to kind of deal with. I know you said that's not your space. You don't really advise people on obviously personal decision making. But I'm curious, because I'm sure there are instances where you're dealing with people who maybe are, they lose a child, or they have some kind of traumatic event that occurs during a pregnancy, whatever it may be. How do you kind of, field those specific situations? And are they frequent? That's also the part 2 of that.
Okay. They're frequent, but not too frequent.
Okay.
Thank God. I know,
God,
especially last year with COVID, we did see an increased number of stillbirths and
wait, what's a stillbirth? What's the
stillbirth is a baby who's born deceased. A baby who basically.
Why are you looking at me crazy?
I can't believe you never heard of that. Oh, wow.
I've heard of it, but here's the deal. You have to take into consideration, right? I don't take up a majority of my time reading up on the what's the word? On not the dialect, but the verbiage of medical practice.
Yeah.
Right? Now I've heard of stillbirth, but I can make some assumptions about what I think it is.
But you never knew exactly what it was.
I've never delved into the details.
Right.
So go ahead, stillbirth.
Yeah. So yes, it does occur. Luckily, it's not something that occurs like very often in my practice.
That's scary.
But it's usually it's such a hard emotional time, and not just for the patient, for everybody involved, for me, the nurses, everyone who's taking care of the patient. It just becomes such a it's a tough thing.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to support you have to support the patient, the woman, her family through this entire situation. So we provide support. There is a pastor that's in the hospital that I'll get the pastor to come. I sit and try to help the patient as much as possible, answer as many questions as I possibly can.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes we don't even have the answers, and that can be so hard. Right? When you just don't have the answer, I don't know, what happened and why, why this happened. So that's really such a tough and such a huge, like, emotional, task at that time for everybody who's, taking care, of the.
You ever got really emotional about one of those cases or any case?
Yes.
Really?
I'm sure all of them. Probably,
yes.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Oh yes.
I don't. I feel like if I was a medical professional, this is gonna sound crazy, and this is probably why I'm not in medicine. I think I would be kind of cold. Here's what I mean.
No, you won't be.
No. Hear me out. I feel as though medical professionals see death regularly. Like my boy, he's a fireman.
Mm-hmm.
He sees dead people all the time. He sees gruesome things, right? Some more than others. And when you're seeing it so frequently, you're not as fazed by it. Like, you almost know, okay, there's a probability somebody's going to die today. So me, if I was a medical professional, I feel like over time I will be numb to seeing that so frequently. Obviously, there's happier moments, right? But when you're in medicine, again, that you might be different than other people, and specifically myself.
Right.
But
I would actually assume that there are people who are like that in the space.
That's why I asked her if you get emotional, because some people, I would imagine, they're so used to it that it doesn't faze them. So do you feel as though there are certain things that are like gruesome to most people that you feel like you're not as attached to, more so now that you've had so many years in medicine?
I would never get accustomed to that. It's just no.
I think it's more about the person, the human being that you are.
All right, so I'm an a-hole. Okay.
No, it's not that you're an a-hole. It's just that Dr. Sharon doesn't fit that category, right? But it's not a bad question, right? Because if you just think about, if you think about the medical system, especially in our country, in the United States, how it's kind of set up, a lot of people who are in your space are incentivized to, prioritize profit over the people, right? Just because you have to be, it's difficult to make money in private practice right now, right? Like you're blessed. You're in one of the specialties where, it's not as difficult, I'd say, to.
Well, let her tell us that. I don't know. Is it?
I mean, based on the limited amount of reading I've done up on the space, like there are a lot of doctors who, like, for instance, don't want to take in lower income patients, right? Because their insurances don't reimburse as well right? And at the end of the day, you have to keep the lights on because a private practice is a business, right? So it's just being in line with your question. I could see how you have to kind of turn off the human element a little bit to prioritize the business part, which keeps the doors open and the lights on, right? Like, and thank God you're blessed probably not to have to.
And that does happen. And in situations like that, then a lot of times you have to end up seeing more volume, right? So you end up spending less time with your patients, and your patients generally become dissatisfied because of that.
Which breaks the connection, right? You don't get the connection with them. Yeah.
It breaks the connection. Yeah, it does. It breaks the connection. But I mean, the question is, how do we fix it?
I mean,
when I figure that out, I'm going to run for some kind of office.
Okay, good.
I haven't figured it out yet.
I think ultimately, like, when you involve insurance, right, as a way to, I saw this other documentary. I'm big into documentaries. There was a description of like what impact did the concept of insurance have on medical practice, right? The way they regulate the prices, you have to see patients in volume in order to make any kind of money, because the insurance company is squeezing a lot of the dollars in order to remain profitable themselves. So now,
or work for the hospital systems, right?
What do you mean?
As opposed to having your own private practice, work directly for the conglomeration in a sense, right?
I mean, as an employee, sure, but even a hospital, in order for them to make money, they have to charge an exorbitant amount of money, right? And still work in a certain amount of volume, because the way that the insurance companies pay out is affecting their ability to profit. So they have to do it that way, right? You got to have limited staff, right? Because otherwise you're paying a lot of crazy salaries. You got to, it's just like any business, but hospitals specifically, because the procedure costs were actually relatively towards, income, whatever, were relatively low previous to like how insurance has evolved. Do you agree with that?
How it's evolved in this country. Yeah.
Well, I'm only talking about this country. Do you agree with that?
I mean, yes, to a certain extent. I do agree that insurances do control medicine. You do have to have volume to even be able to make a living, keep the lights on and keep your practice open. Even like in a situation last year with like COVID, where all our OR beds became ICU beds, we had to cancel all elective surgeries, right?
Sure.
So the hospital make their money from those elective surgeries.
Yeah.
So if I'm not doing a hysterectomy, or I'm not doing the things that I can do and not put it off because it's not technically an emergency, then you lose that revenue.
That revenue, yeah.
So yes, you do.
Wow.
Right. Yeah.
That's wild.
It's an interesting space, man. Like, and again, just in knowing that we were going to dive into this conversation with you, just did a little bit of light reading, and I think a lot of people probably don't realize that medical professionals are amongst one of the, like, in terms of people who are unhappy with what they're doing and possibly, prone to committing suicide. It's the suicide rates are much higher than you would imagine in the space. And that was like very, very shocking to me, because in this society, we put, people who are in your space, medical professionals, in a very high regard, like as like revered in a sense, right? But people don't understand the pressures that are actually caused a lot by what we were talking about with the insurance, right, situation, and how the insurance companies are really controlling the industry. So, like, I'm curious for you, like, do you know or anybody like closely, or have you seen just that impact on anybody in your circle?
Yes, and I see a lot of it even on even in my social media physicians group, where they complain a lot. Particularly people who are employed by the hospitals, and I saw it a lot last year with COVID. because especially when we did not know a lot about COVID and we didn't have available PPE, you know, and they're wanting you to go into the rooms with COVID patients or suspected COVID patients without proper PPE, you know, things like that. You can't, they don't want you to publicize and let it be known that you're not, you know, getting the proper PPE to be able to take care of these patients. And so, you know, I saw a lot of complaints from physicians who are employed by, you know, hospitals or you know, and who are basically not self-employed.
Right.
So, and I saw a lot of dissatisfaction with that last year, especially, and you saw a lot of that come out with during this entire COVID time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think a lot of that also has to do with the fact that you're putting so much of your life, going back to the 12-year sentence, you're putting so much time and so much energy into becoming this thing, right? And then at the end of it, there's just so much red tape, right? That allows you to be kind of successful, where it's just the pressures. Like I can't really imagine it. But like I said, that was just it's just shocking to learn that. I wouldn't have thought that.
You know, you mentioned the 12 years, right? So I'm going to ask you a personal question, Dr. Sharon.
And you don't have to answer if you don't.
Hey, what? This is not a court. I'm going to ask you, because
I got a ref.
This is the Introspect room where you can learn a lot about yourself through conversations with other people. Okay? You okay?
Oh, no, I'm okay. We're always going to remain respectful here in the Introspect room. So go ahead.
So, I feel like you're in a very unique position as a woman, professional, self-made, right? During the time, and I kind of asked you this at the beginning, but I want to be more specific. During your time as a medical student, spending 12 years piecing together your career, right? Do you ever feel as though you are in the shoes of the same women that you are coaching about, like, taking care of themselves, especially when it comes to like fertility and the decisions they make in that regard? Do you ever find yourself in the same, like through the same lens? Are you relating to them directly, or do you see yourself outside of?
Yeah. No, I do relate to them directly, but when we were med students and residents or, you know, training, they don't care about that.
They don't care about what?
They don't care about your personal life. They don't care about you having kids. In fact, a lot of them having kids becomes a bother because you got to take time off and things like that. So it's not, I mean, this whole training in medicine is not, it's not like a rosy time. It's really not. You know what I mean? It's not. And then if you have if you're out for pregnancy, let's say you had a baby and you're taking 4 weeks off. Yeah. Somebody has to cover you. Somebody got to take your call. Somebody got to do your cases. And you're running on a limited, crew per se. You got to pull someone who is maybe in a non, like a non like specialty rotation or a lighter rotation to cover you and things like that. And people don't like that. They don't like it. So it's very difficult, and especially for women in the space of medicine to navigate that. Now, have people had babies and all during residency, med school and all that? Yes, but then they're not usually very very nice about it. It's not usually.
Who's not nice about it? Who's not nice about it?
It's usually sometimes the people you work with, your program director, Yeah, I'm telling you.
So that's why I asked. I feel like, did that industry put a certain pressure on you to limit some of the things that you might have wanted? I mean, I don't know what your desires were during that time, but I'm just thinking as a woman, of age, of the proper, scenario.
Childbearing age.
Excuse me?
Childbearing age.
Childbearing age, or not just childbearing age, but just a time when you're like, when you're dating or you're in relationships, or maybe you want to get married, or you want to just have all these experiences that someone within that age range would typically have but you're in medical school and you're doing these fellowships and they're putting this pressure on you to, and this goes, the pressure is a little different for guys, right? I would think, right? Because they're not the one carrying the child, right? My thing is like, do you relate to that scenario even more so because you were in that situation? And do you feel like if you could go back, there was some things you'd do different if you had the opportunity?
I don't know that I would do anything differently. The only thing that I know for sure, I don't think there was enough, maybe even support for residents, for, women, just because of the whole childbearing thing. If you get pregnant, you're gonna be gone for a month or two. If you get pregnant, you're not gonna graduate your residency on time. You're gonna come back and spend, 2-3 more months trying to finish up and, things like that. If you're pregnant, you're out, then you're not gonna be able to, spend all the time you need for them to sign off that you can take your board certification exams and things like that. So things like that, yeah, you really take into consideration. Now, there were people in med school who had kids. There are people in residency who have kids. But for them, I think one of the things that really helped was the family support that they had that helped. But a lot of residency programs, they're not very supportive of people having kids, because it means you're gonna take time off and somebody's gonna have to fill in your duties.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. And if you think about it like on a global level, right? Not necessarily global like physically the world, but like just like outside of medicine, just any professional environment, right? Like the inequalities that you see in the spaces for men and women, oftentimes, especially when we're talking about like the wage gap and so on and so forth, a lot of it comes from the impact of women making decisions to raise, children and have children. You are now taking yourself out of the competition of the professionals. You see what I'm saying? Because now versus a guy, he can have a child. I'm not saying it's wrong, right, or whatever. It's just something to think about. It's just like if a guy's in med school or in any type of professional, or he's in finance or he's a lawyer, whatever, if his wife is pregnant, he can still carry on with his career. Obviously he's going to have his challenges, but his duties are outside of that child rearing, right? In that regard, at least for those 9 months and then some. And then for a woman, it's a bigger decision, which will impact her overall ability to have success if she chooses.
That's how you see it, right? And I think traditionally, you're probably right, or historically, you're probably right. But I think that there's been a shift as of at least the last 5 to 10 years, maybe more so.
Okay.
At least from my vantage point, I could be wrong. Dr. Sharon, what do you think? Have you seen that starting to shift?
It does. It has shifted. There are a lot of even single moms that I know who are physicians, who basically have done it all. Right. It's doable. It's just a little bit more difficult. You may have to, shift some things and do different things, but it is definitely doable.
When you say doable, like you see them doing it, but are they doing it to the best of their abilities given the amount of things they're responsible for?
Yes.
What is the best of their abilities? You can only give what you can give.
No, I'm just thinking
circumstances.
No, I'm just thinking like if you're a mother.
You're saying comparatively. You're indirectly saying comparatively to a man who doesn't have quote unquote the same responsibilities, right?
No, that's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying.
What are you saying?
I'm saying like when you do it all, you might do it all, but are you doing all of them, everything to the most efficiency, to the best quality? Like when you are raising children, right? Have your career,
all of
personal
that is subjective.
Life, I know it's subjective, but I'm just thinking about it overall, right? the more you have on your plate, are you necessarily having the best quality experience in each part of the things that are on your plate? Because I have a lot of things.
How do you quantify that?
Well, that's why I'm asking the question. I'm just saying, like, I'll give you an example. Right? I was working on a project years ago, right? And I was working real late on this project with this architect, and she's a professional, and she has 2 kids, but she's always working late. She works hard. She, successful in that realm. And she said, and I asked her, we were taking a train back to wherever we were headed, and I said, "You have 2 kids, right?" She's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Is your?" And I like having personal conversations. And I'm like, "Is your husband home with them right now or whatever?" She's like, "Oh no, he's working late too." And I'm like, "So who's with the kids?" It's like, "Oh, the nanny's with the kids." I'm like, and I asked her, I'm like, "Do you ever feel like the nanny's raising your kids more than you are when you have like 2 working professionals, right?" And then she's like, "Oh, when I come home, I like read to them." I'm like, "But what's happening throughout the day? Like the nanny's taking them to school, the nanny's making them meals, the nanny's, conversing with them." So my thing is like, yeah, you can do it, but is that like the most potent way of parenting children, right? And there are some people who work part-time in their career to take care of the children, but are they doing the most out of what they know in their career? Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of give and take. That's why I say, are they doing it to the best of their abilities? Do you see what I'm saying, Dr. Sharon?
See what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, they do take care of their children in the best of their ability. And a lot of times it's not the quantity of time, it's really quality time.
Sure.
So you got to make sure that you spend that quality time, with your loved ones, with your family. I mean, I experienced the same thing, even when I was a student, when I was training. It's really, because sometimes you just really may only have limited amount of time, but it's like, how do you spend that time? It's the quality of time that really counts.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I think what you're ultimately getting at in terms of like root issues, societal issues really, is like, are we putting too much focus on the hustle, right? The professional, like going after your job, putting time into whatever, and not allowing for families to be together enough, right? I think we probably should, in a perfect world, shift the way we prioritize work.
Yeah, but who you telling that to though?
I mean, that's a utopian way of thinking, right?
Yeah.
But like,
listen,
in reality, I think that's what you're actually getting at, because you're like even creating these uneven scales with the question where it's like, are they giving enough? What does that mean? Like, really, the priority should be the time that they're able to spend with their families. But we, from a young age, put into everyone's heads here in this country that you have to go, you have to just focus on profession, focus on all this. And in reality, is that conducive to the most, progressive and empathetic society? I don't know.
Again, who are you directing that to? Because I know if you are someone who owns a business, or you're someone who is competing with other businesses, right? And Dr. Sharon Smith, you can chime in if you feel, because you're in that position, you want to get the most out of your resources, your human resources, in order to stay, in a surviving, economy, or survive in the economy that you're competing in. So my thing is, like, you can have this utopia, but at the same time, there's always going to, especially culturally, there's always going to be that one person that's going to come in and outperform you. And that's just where we're at. And even though we're the way we are in the United States, there's a lot of countries or people who have the utopia type of mindset that you're talking about, but they want to come to the United States still, even though this is the environment that we're in. Do you see what I'm saying, Dr. Sharon?
Yeah, I mean, I do. I understand what you're saying. I do. I mean, I think that, yeah, as a, even for me, myself, as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, as a solo practitioner, I mean, I'm busy all the time, right? I'm busy. But for me, I have to find time to do things that keep me balanced, right? So a lot of times it's not just about quantity of time, it's quality of time. Like I know, like on Sundays, like today, I'll meal prep, right? Because that's gonna make my week easier.
Yeah.
Right. In terms of taking care of myself. Right?
Yeah.
And then it also helps with things that become emergencies. And okay, I can't come home, I can't cook, but as soon as I come home, there's food in my refrigerator because I spent the time preparing it. So a lot of it is organization also to help yourself, like as a busy professional, busy people, is to be able to, compartmentalize and organize and so that you can make the most out of your time.
For sure.
Right on.
Yeah.
Definitely. One thing I do want to touch on, though, that I think a lot of, especially Americans and people who have become American citizens, kind of lean into as an idea, that it's like a blanketed reality that I don't think is necessarily as pervasive as you think, that like people in other countries just want to come here. Like everybody wants to come here. There's a lot of people in other countries that look at the way America runs and they're like, I don't ever want to go there.
Of course not.
Right. But when the way that you said it is like, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that want to come here.
I didn't say all. I'm just saying there's a lot of people.
No, for sure. But I'm just throwing it out there because I don't think it's as many people or as, accepted of an idea outside of the United States as people in the United States think it is.
No, here's what I did, right? Because I've traveled, you've traveled,
Man.
I've met people and conversed with people in different countries and their views on us.
Same.
Yeah, there's things that they don't like about the United States, but there's also things that they do like.
Of course.
And it comes with the things that they don't like. You see what I'm saying? So
sure.
Just like when you go to certain places that have a more utopia type of mindset in how they treat people, there's things that happen as a detriment of that. You see what I'm saying? Like in especially in more socialist countries, there's certain things that might not, be as fruitful in the process of trying to create the utopia.
Yeah, there's a give and take in everything.
That's what I'm saying. So even the people that might hate some ways that we do things might still value coming here or value, getting resources in whatever form from the United States, if they could just nitpick those things and put the other stuff to the side.
For sure.
But you can.
This is definitely a great conversation for
another
this is another topic.
I know, but
Dr. Sharon, we don't want to take the spotlight off you. This is this is your show today.
Okay.
But we're gonna table this one, and I've got a lot of things to say about this.
Apparently, we're gonna argue after this.
That'll be our one-on-one episode. We'll see where that one goes. But yeah, Dr. Sharon, you've been amazing. You're dropping like straight gems on us today. I feel like I've learned a lot.
I learned an exceptional amount.
Yeah, you know what a stillbirth is now.
I know what a stillbirth is. I'm still working on the pap smear thing.
For sure. I'll explain it to you when we get off.
Cool. Apparently,
Dr. Sharon, where can people find you and connect with you?
You can find me on all social media platforms, just about Facebook, Instagram, under my name, Sharon Smith, MD. It's an easy name to remember, so it's at Sharon Smith, MD. So yeah, that's so
how can they find and they can find your practice that way too, because we have viewers in Texas as well.
Yeah, they can, once they connect with me through my social media, also they'll be able to find me, connect with my practice. My practice is OB-GYN Care. And it's also linked in my bios also on Instagram.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I'm actually working on starting a podcast. So that's
is that right?
My next question was, what are you working on right now that you want everybody to know about? For sure.
Yeah, I'm working on a podcast. We're basically, my whole goal is to empower women. I mean, I know I spend a lot of time just like some days I'm not just a gynecologist. I feel like I'm a therapist. I'm a psychologist. If I can't, I recognize and refer people to the services and the help that they need. And I mean, I have like daily conversation about everything from relationships to, just everything. So I'm going to use that platform to interview women and men, right, who support us to help empower, the millenniums and the upcoming generation. So that is my goal.
I love that. I love that.
That's what I'm working on also.
So we're definitely gonna have to stay tuned for that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you have a name for it yet?
I'm working on a name. I'm almost there. Yeah.
You don't have to share it now, because I don't want anybody to copy.
If you need
stuff.
help, let us know. We're pretty good with names.
Apparently, we're pretty good with other things too in this podcast. But, you know what I mean?
I know. I'm thoroughly impressed by your production. That is, I'm not going to be that fancy, but I'm really impressed by it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that.
Right on. Well, listen, this has been great.
Yeah. Where can people find you, Jeff? Go
ahead. They can find me in the Bronx. Let me stop. Don't come find me. You guys can find me at j.damisse. That's j.damisse. That is for my IG as well as Clubhouse. I'm on there a few times a week, hosting a couple rooms, just connecting with some people.
There you go.
For my Twitter is j_Damisse, j_DAMISSE. And yeah, Michaelangelo.
Awesome, for sure. You guys can find me across all different social media platforms, Michaelangelo.Garland. You can also email the show. If you have questions, ideas for topics, even if you just want to tell us what you're thinking. You can not only comment on our posts on the different various social media platforms, email us at theintrospectroom@gmail.com. We love hearing from you. So
yeah, and follow us on Instagram for at the Introspect Room. And thank you guys for
Thank you guys for spending time with us in the Introspect Room.
Yeah. Dr. Sharon Smith, you were a delight. And doesn't she look beautiful, everybody?
Oh my gosh. Wait, Dr. Sharon, you said Antigua? You said Antigua, right? Okay, my family's from Montserrat and Dominica. My whole family's from Montserrat. Yeah, so
I was in Antigua 2 years ago.
Sure.
Oh, you were? Oh.
Yeah.
Very good. Like, did you enjoy yourself?
I did. I was there for a wedding. I was the best man for a wedding. I was busy. I actually lost the ring, but we're not going to talk about that.
Man. Another episode. Tune in to hear that story.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dr. Sharon, we appreciate you again. And hey, we'll see you guys again soon.
Yes.
All right. Bye.